Well, hello there, welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Luke.
And in today's video, we are doing our monthly recommendation for November. Let us know what you've been watching lately. Comment down below your thoughts. Like and subscribe, it helps out the channel a lot. Do you want to go first for your recommendation, Luke?
Okay. The first show I'm going to recommend is a show that's coming out, well, a new season's coming out today on Netflix, Big Mouth. I would say I've probably recommended or talked about it in the past, but I'm bringing it up again because the new season comes out today, season 5. I wasn't aware that it was coming out until yesterday because Netflix brought up a notification that said the trailer's available, and then it's released tomorrow, the whole show. So I'm very excited about that. For those that haven't heard of Big Mouth before, it's a cartoon, Netflix exclusive, written by main character. The main character is kind of based on the guy that wrote it. His name's Nick. Can't think of his last name, but he is a noticeable character in a few movies, and he does the voicing for quite a few characters. And then one of the other noticeable voices and writers voices at one of the other main characters called Jay, and he is in, again, you'd recognize him from several movies. The first one that comes to mind is How to Be Single. He's one of the characters in that. But this show is basically about young teenagers going through puberty and being interested in like the opposite sex, and it's very crude and not necessarily for everyone, but it is absolutely hilarious, and I recommend it to anyone that has a good sense of humor. If not, it's probably not your thing, and I probably wouldn't show it to kids either. But if you're an adult that has a good sense of humor and wants to laugh, this show is very, very funny and easy to watch.
Sounds like a good choice.
Yeah, what's your first recommendation for November?
Recommendation number 1 is a show called Made, a limited series, also on Netflix. And I think what makes this on the list is that it's a story that covers abuse by the opposite sex, and it covers stories and things that you kind of need to hear and kind of watch throughout the story. So basically it covers loosely based on a true story, and it follows this girl trying to cope within the American system of life because she's not a wealthy person. She didn't finish school, and it's just a journey about growth and trying to bring up her daughter the best she can because the male is abusive, he's an alcoholic, and it's a story about triumph. And obviously the title, she becomes a maid and she becomes good at it, and it's a story you want the best for her, and I think it was worth the investment, and that's why I'm recommending it. It has 10 episodes, and I guess the main nitpick is the mother can be, what she says can be annoying, but she's bipolar, so that's kind of her excuse. But besides that, great show.
Okay, for my second recommendation, I'm going to go with a movie. I'm going to go with a movie that only just recently came out, which I'm sure we'll review once Jacob's seen it, and it's The Eternals. So I was fortunate enough to see it last night. I think most people are going to probably go out and see it anyway. But if you need any motivation to see it, let this be it. I thought it was really, really good. I think the reviews it got early on are misleading. I think it's worth going and making up your own mind. I actually think it's a Marvel movie that you could watch without seeing the others. It links in, but because it's about gods and celestial beings, I think that someone that has not seen the other movies can watch it. There's reference to characters like Captain America and Iron Man, but they're not involved. So I think you could separately watch this and still get enjoyment from it. It's quite a cool standalone story that obviously will link into future movies. But it was enjoyable. For actors that a lot of them I hadn't seen before, ignoring the notable characters like your Angelina Jolies and your Salma Hayek. So the others were quite unknown to me. I think they did quite a good job. And for a long movie, it kept me gripped throughout. So I think it's worth seeing if you were questioning whether it's worth it. I definitely think it is one of the better Marvel standalone movies. It isn't a standalone, but it's one that you could take a friend or a partner that is not interested in Marvel, or it's like, I haven't seen the others, I can't watch it, and you could watch this. You could definitely go see this without having seen the others, and it still has reference because of the historical events that happened throughout it and the premise behind the Eternals.
Very good choice. Second recommendation is on Disney Plus Star, and it's The Only Murder in the Building, and the cool concept is that they have a podcast because they all love podcasts. So the concept is that someone was murdered by the title, and they're basically doing a better job than the police. It's kind of a constant theme that shows present to the audience, that civilians can do a better job than the police. But basically we get to see different perpetrators that could have done it throughout the story, and I just highly recommend it because it's a different sort of who done it. Like, it goes through singing, because one of them is a director, one of them is an actor, and the female she's more from a rich family with a auntie, so there's a lot of personalities involved in the show, and I just saw who it was when that character came in the show, but it keeps you guessing throughout the show, and thankfully it's been renewed for a season 2. And with the ending, it does end with a cliffhanger, but because there is a season 2, you don't feel bad for that. So, highly recommend the show if you love murder mysteries and podcasts like Truth Be Told. Yeah.
So for my third recommendation, I am going to go with something a bit older. That's obviously, it's a show that's finished and there's nothing new coming out, and it's called Workaholics. This is a show that is on Stan, and it might be on Netflix as well, or even Amazon Prime, because it's kind of a classic comedy that's been on like a lot of networks and streaming services. So the idea of Workaholics is we have 3 friends who live together, and they also work together in a telemarketing call center. And then there's a 4th friend of theirs who's kind of a fringe character you see here and there, but the 4 of them together are 4 best friends in real life, and they've written this show based upon themselves. And it's kind of a over-the-top telling of their life in kind of like college and like drinking and the things they got up to before they became famous. And it's one of those shows, it's about like drinking and doing drugs and just doing silly stuff, but the characters are so classic in themselves and the way they do things. Some of the notable characters in there would be Adam Devine would be one of the most well-known actors in it, and he's in movies like I think it's When We First Met, which is a Netflix original. He's in with Zac Efron, a movie called Chuck and Larry Need Wedding Date. No, Mike and Dave, Need Wedding Dates, which is a really good, funny comedy. And he's a world famous stand-up comic. And this show is just hilarious. Like it's the characters that are more interesting than anything else, and it's got lots of reoccurring jokes. Very easy to watch. 20-minute episodes, maybe 4 or 5 seasons. It's not a whole lot, but it really like jump started their careers. And the reason I'm recommending is because I recently discovered a podcast that they all do together. Now, because of COVID, for something to do, they started a podcast, and it's one of the most popular podcasts in the world, and it just made me interested in watching the show again. What about yourself? What are your third recommendation?
Final recommendation is a show also on Netflix called Final Space, and I just think it's a really insane and cool show. And basically the concept is that Gary is a prisoner, but he sees himself as the captain of the ship. And then he has a AI named Harry, and then basically we meet this character called Mooncake, and what transpires throughout the 3 seasons is just insane. We get the Lord Commander that's voiced by David Tennant, and it's just a crazy, insane show that you can see how the creator, his mind works in the show, and you're taken through a journey through the show. And I think if you love anime and like crude humor and like Star Wars and those sort of shows, unfortunately it ends on a cliffhanger and we're not getting season 4, but it's still worth the journey, it's still worth the insaneness because there's cool characters. Glenn out of Walking Dead is also in the show. He voices Yudo Avocado, and it's just insane characters. It's just a really cool show. Can't say highly enough about it. The one nitpick is that unfortunately we're not getting a conclusion to the vision of the main creator. So yeah.
Okay. Do you have any honourable mentions, things we've watched and haven't recommended? I can think of some shows.
Yeah.
I know something we both watched. We both watched One of Us is Lying recently.
Yeah.
We did review that, so you can find that video on the channel. But if you haven't seen that review or you're considering watching the show, I myself I gave it quite a high rating, and so did you.
Yeah, I gave it 2 scores, what I've never done, but I feel like the ending kind of was the pivotal thing that is divisive.
Yeah, so that's, if you're looking for something new to watch in November, that's a show that only recently came out.
Yeah.
I'd recommend that. A show that you recommend to me, Chuck, is now available on Amazon Prime.
How are you liking it?
I'm actually quite liking it. I'm going to like it more now that I can easily watch it, where I was borrowing the DVDs from Jacob up until now. So if you haven't seen Chuck or you want to rewatch it, it's on Amazon Prime now, which I was pretty excited when you told me that the other day.
And should you tell the audience kind of the little concepts from what you've watched so far?
From Chuck? So Chuck is a show about... he works at a technology shop, like in Australia, like a JB Hi-Fi, or in America, you might be like a Radio Shack kind of thing. They fixes computers. We find out that he was at Stanford and was studying to be an engineer. Got kicked out because they found test papers in his dorm, which he said he didn't have anything to do with. His roommate, who always got the girls, actually stole his girl, was good at track and field and was top of his class and everything. He went on to become a spy, and he found all these government secrets, and before he got killed, he decided to send it to his old friend Chuck for no real reason, but sent it to him, and then through that email he now has in his mind, through his memories, like inbuilt government secrets. So he's now like the government's best asset and weapon against terrorism and other bad guys. So it's a cool concept from what I've seen. I'm about halfway through the first season. I am enjoying it. Another honourable mention I didn't recommend this because if you haven't seen the others, you may be no of interest. But the new Halloween Kills movie came out on Halloween. I would recommend watching it if you've seen the others. I think it's, it's your typical horror movie it's just silly, and there's like unrealistic things, like the person always goes into the room where they know the murder is, even though they know they're going to get killed, and that sort of stuff. But if you like the Michael Myers franchise, I think this was a cool additive onto the franchise, and it's going in a decent direction. So it's out at cinemas, and I believe it is on Peacock in America, because that's how I watched it, and I'm going to see it a second time tomorrow. So I think that's a good movie if you've seen the others. If you haven't, it won't make any sense. Any other honourable mentions, things you've watched this month?
I guess for myself, a show on Netflix called Warrior Nun. Basically, the concept is that these nuns fight against devils or demons, and the concept is really the thing that's really cool, and the other nuns, but Ave, the main character, they spent too long on her prophecy as a chosen one. Will she join the good fight? And she goes for that because she was a paraplegic, so she couldn't walk. And then, she's got this new spell, or this new upleavance on life. So basically, she wants to do first. She wants to do all this. So it's like, but it's important for something else. So that's the main issue of the show. And also, if you don't like cliffhangers at the end, and this is probably the worst cliffhanger I've ever seen.
Okay.
But it's a really good show. Besides all of those nitpicks, and also other honorable mentions, started watching The Witcher, and it's a really good show. Harvey Cavill does an excellent job. The main nitpick with The Witcher is that I have no idea what's going on. Like, Geralt's doing his thing, we're getting that stuff over there, but it doesn't say when anything's happening. So it's kind of a big problem when you think about it, because with the audience, you kind of want them to know what's happening. So they don't explain that, so you kind of got to accept what's in front of your face. What's hard, because, for people that haven't read the books or played the games. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Well, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this monthly recommendation. See you in the next video. Let the force be with you. Bye-bye.